You need to compose your pictures perfectly in camera and never, ever crop them. This might sound completely nuts to you, but believe it or not, there are a lot of photographers out there who believe this. But it's also true that there are a lot of photographers out there who rely way too heavily on cropping. Their image capture process has little to no purpose. It's essentially see something, shoot something, and I'll worry about it later on in post. It really doesn't matter what genre of photography we're talking about. Cropping is just going to be part of the creative process. Cropping can significantly, and I mean significantly, change the impact of a photo. If you're a portrait photographer or a landscape photographer, getting the perfect composition in camera is obviously going to be much easier if you compare it to that of a sports photographer or even a bird photographer. Obviously, with sports and bird photographers, the action is moving so much faster, it becomes that much more difficult to compose your images perfectly in camera. However, with that being said, even if you are a portrait photographer or landscape photographer, it doesn't mean that you're never going to have to crop or that cropping isn't going to be a part of your regular editing process. You're still going to have to refine your images to get the most impact out of your images. And that's the whole point of today's video. We're going to be focused on cropping, why you should crop and why you shouldn't. Hey, by the way, I'm Jeff from Magnolia Photography SC, professional wildlife photographer in Charleston, South Carolina. If you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you in and thank you for joining us. And if you're returning to the channel, well, I want to welcome you back in and thank you for your continued support. Today, I have 5 reasons I'm going to share with you as to why you need to crop your photos. But I also have 5 reasons why you shouldn't crop your photos. So let's jump in and get started, and let's kick it off with talking about the 5 reasons why you should crop your photos. Number 1, refine your composition. Whether you're fine-tuning your composition, maybe the rule of thirds, or perhaps you're just trying to realign elements in your photo with a little bit more intention, refining our composition is going to give us a much better opportunity for creating stronger images. Number 2, emphasize your subject. If we're a sports photographer or wildlife photographer, it's pretty rare that our subjects are posing perfectly for us. Many times they're not even doing what we would like them to do. But with the cropping tool, we can take a more strategic approach to our composition to ensure that we place the maximum emphasis on our subject. Number 3, correcting framing mistakes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if I could get a level horizon if my life depended on it. No matter what I do, it just always seems to be a little off kilter. But cropping allows us to fix those framing mistakes. If we're a little unlevel with our horizon, or perhaps we're photographing something and we didn't really get the framing that right, and now the photo feels a little unbalanced. And I always kind of revert back to that scenario where we're talking about a flying bird or a running animal and we didn't give them enough breathing room, right? They might be just a little too close to the frame in which they're moving, and we want to give them a little more space in that area of the photo. So cropping is something that we might be able to use to rearrange that frame a little bit and create that more balanced image. Number 4, aspect ratios. Aspect ratios is just a term that shows us the relationship between the width and the height of an image. Now, you can crop your photos in whatever aspect ratio you want. There's really no right or wrong answer per se. I like to use a 5:7 personally. Now, I know that that's not a popular aspect ratio that's used by many wildlife photographers, but it's an aspect ratio that I'm familiar with and that I like. So that's the one I use. You can really use whatever you want for your images, but I would definitely experiment using different aspect ratios so you can get a feel for what creates a more powerful and impactful image. The only thing that you want to really be concerned about when it comes to aspect ratio is maybe your final use. And if you're sharing some photos online, and really what comes to mind here is if you're going to share photos on like Instagram, they have a very specific aspect ratio that you should use, and that's 4:5 or 1:1. And when we use the recommended aspect ratios, that means we're going to get the best looking image when we post it on Instagram. We're going to get a full image. If you use some other aspect ratio, it's very common that your photo is going to be downsized to fit in that container, and in turn, it's going to look very small. You might be doing something else with an image, like maybe using it as a banner on your website. In that case, it's very common to use an aspect ratio of like a 16:9. Number 5, cropping can change the mood and or the story of your photos. How we crop an image can completely shift the emotional tone. A wide crop of an animal might show you just a little bit more of their habitat, of the environment that they exist in, and that's going to create a certain emotional message. But if we take that same animal and we fill the frame and we crop it really tight, that is going to create an experience that is far more intimate and dramatic. Cropping isn't just a trimming tool, it's a storytelling tool. As we can see, there are very good reasons why we want to use the cropping tool as part of our creative process. But before you go thinking that it's all rainbows and butterflies, there are some downsides too, and we can't ignore them. Number 1, loss of resolution. When we crop, we are getting rid of resolution. We are throwing away megapixels. Now, I know in the current landscape of photography, we have a lot of high megapixel cameras that are readily available to us. And it's these high megapixel cameras that kind of make a lot of photographers believe, I don't really need to worry about loss of resolution or throwing away megapixels. I got plenty to work with. But in wildlife photography, we know that when we are out in the field, we are not always able to get as physically close to our subject as we would like. There are lots of reasons for this. There might be some kind of obstacle in our way, a body of water, trees, bushes, or some sort of other vegetation. No matter what it is, we sometimes just can't get close enough. And we know a few things about taking pictures at a distance in wildlife photography. Distance is going to equal a loss in image quality, right? Just the sheer distance alone is going to make it harder for your camera and lens to resolve the details of that subject. And when we start getting our distance even greater from our subject, well, we really start to magnify the effects of anything that's going on in the atmosphere, those atmospheric conditions that we're always talking about. And then when we get that photo into post-production and we start cropping it, we're just throwing even more detail out the window. And one last thing that we can't overlook when it comes to loss of resolution or loss of image quality is that any noise that exists in our image, there's a really good chance that when we crop it, we're only going to serve to enhance that noise and make it a little bit more visible. Number 2, cropping reduces print quality. Now, before you make any assumptions, before you say to me, hey, Jeff, I don't print my photos. I just, I shoot, I edit, and I look at them on my screen, and, that's how I go about it. Well, I don't want you to make that assumption because quite honestly, too many photographers don't print their image. And I promise you one thing, printing your images is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself as a photographer. Seeing your image printed and seeing it in a larger version is one of the coolest experiences that you can give yourself. It is really a different viewing experience. And it's hard to explain unless you know exactly what I'm talking about, but trust me, it does exist. Every photographer who prints it out says, why didn't I do this sooner? But you never know where photography is going to take you. Down the road, you might capture something really special and really good, and you say to yourself, you know what? I'm printing this one out. Or you might be sharing your stuff online with family and friends. Someone along the way is going to say to you, I love that photo. I want a print of that. I want to put that in my home. So don't assume that you're never going to be printing your images, and you really should be shooting for the fact that your images are going to be printed. It can look great on a digital screen after a heavy crop, but as soon as you print it, it completely falls apart. Okay, so how does this printing thing work? How do you know what size your photo needs to be in order to get a good print quality? Well, let's look at it this way. Let's just say that you have a picture and you want to print it in a 16 by 20 size. That's a pretty common size for displaying a photo in the home. And we know that when we print a photo, we want a high resolution image, right? Because we want a high quality image as well. Well, the standard for high resolution images with printing is 300 pixels per inch. So let's just say that you want to figure out what size your image needs to be. And generally speaking, your editing software will show it to you in pixel size. So we need to convert what our photo is and what our print is, and so we can kind of look at those two and compare them. So again, let's circle back to that 16 by 20 print at a 300 ppi. What we need to do is we need to take the width and the height, the 16 and the 20, and multiply both of those numbers by 300. That is going to convert what we need from our image as far as pixels are concerned. And when we do that, 16 times 300 is 4,800 pixels. The 20 times 300 is 6,000 pixels. So we need an image from a pixel standpoint that is 4,800 by 6,000 pixels in order to get a really good print quality. Number 3, weaker composition. Wait a minute. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. We just had a conversation a little while ago about how using cropping and refining our cropping and how doing all those things is going to serve to make our images better. It's going to make them more impactful. What do you mean we're going to have weaker composition? Well, the bottom line is cropping, when misused, and let's be honest, it is often misused, is going to have the complete opposite effect that we want it to have. And when we misuse cropping, really what we're going to do is we are going to sacrifice our image quality severely. Number 4, cropping is not a cure-all. Cropping might create a more impactful photo from a compositional standpoint, but we can't overlook the fact that cropping doesn't fix everything. It doesn't fix bad lighting. It doesn't fix missed focus. It doesn't change the fact that our photos are lacking emotion. So when it comes to cropping in post-production, we need to really proceed with caution and be very mindful of how and why we're using the cropping tool. Number 5, overdependence. I'll just fix it later. Don't just assume because you have a high megapixel camera or you learn some new editing techniques that you now have the right to be lazy out in the field or lazy about how you go about capturing your images. An overdependence on cropping can lead to a lot of missed opportunities as well as a lot of photos with bad image quality. There you have it. Those are the reasons why you should and should not use cropping when it comes to your photos. Cropping is a tool. It's not a rescue plan. It's not going to fix every mistake. Cropping, when used with intent, can really elevate your photos. But when cropping is used without purpose, it can quickly and quietly chip away at quality, resolution, and storytelling impact. Hey, speaking of editing, if you are using DxO Photolab 8 and you want to learn about this program, or you just kind of want to build upon the skills you already have, then you need to head over to my store, magnoliaphotographysc.com/store, where you can check out my DxO Photolab 8 Masterclass. And if you're not familiar with DxO, but you want to check it out, you're really interested in it, I have a link in the show notes. Be sure to use that to head over to DxO, where you can download a 30-day free trial and check it out for yourself. If you decide you want to buy it, if you decide you want to buy any of DxO's amazing software, then be sure to use my discount code at the time of checkout. That code is Magnolia, and that will save you 15% off any of your purchases. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you would like to learn one simple trick that you can do when it comes to the colors in your images that are going to create images that are more unique and more emotional, then check out this video right here.